She's a sophisticated older woman, wealthy, successful, summers in a Hamptons beach house with a white and bright kitchen, with a stainless steel fridge, two kitchen islands, not just one kitchen island, two kitchen islands, and a jute rug. She has a private walkway to the beach, her own private beach perhaps, lined with lush hydrangeas, a lush hydrangea bush in full bloom. And in the early morning, as the dew is still glistening on the leaves of her hydrangea bush, she gets dressed in an all-white outfit, flowy, comfortable linen pants, a pristinely white, oversized man's shirt, a cashmere sweater knotted around her shoulder, and a straw visor. She slips down her private walkway, walks past gray shingled homes into the heart of town to the farmer's market, and there she'll sample nuts, she'll smell spices, she'll test the firmness of an heirloom tomato. Is it firm? Is it ripe? Which she'll buy by the dozen, slipping them carefully into her Nantucket picnic basket, an heirloom from her grandma. She'll return to her beach house and place her heirloom tomatoes, all very, very firm yet ripe, into a handmade ceramic bowl, which she will set on one of her kitchen islands. These tomatoes will be very juicy. These tomatoes will ripen at dinner and will be a perfect accompaniment to her burrata cheese and her imported olive oil. The main course is a grilled chicken breast, not the thigh, not the leg, chicken breast, grilled, not fried, with steamed broccolini, paired with a chilled glass of Chardonnay. She is the coastal grandmother, personification of sophistication, quiet luxury, and class. Now, my beautiful viewers, I want you to take that image of the coastal grandmother. Just think about it for a second. Savor it in your mouth, like a chilled glass of sweet Chardonnay. And then I want you to swish it around, spit it out. Spit it out! Because we're going to talk about the opposite of the clean sophistication of the coastal grandmother. We're going to talk about the opposite of quiet luxury. Things are going to get colorful. Things are going to get eccentric. Things are going to get eclectic. And things are going to get loud. My name is Teresa, and today we are stepping into our maximalist era. I had a horrible nightmare last night. I dreamt that I was riding the subway and a fellow passenger comes up to me and he just starts touching my face, except that he had really dry hands. He wasn't old. He was a young man, younger than I, but his hands were just so dry. Crepe paper dry, like corpse hand, mummy hand dry. Like he was basically a mummy. And with these dry hands, he just started touching my face, absorbing the moisture from my face, sucking the moisture from my face so that I can be as dry as him. As a result, I was discomforted all night long, and that is why I'm like this now. Very, You know, old people have very dry skin, especially foot skin, dry feet. And I notice this because I go to a lot of estate sales, to the homes of old people. They're probably dead. That's why they're having an estate sale. There's always a house that has a full body massage recliner. There's also a massage area for one's feet. And that's always the nastiest thing because they put in their bare feet into the foot massager of the recliner. All their dry foot skin gets in the massager. I noticed that, and I try to keep some distance away from it. So that's what we're gonna talk about for our first aesthetic. Pinterest is named the Eclectic Grandpa, the It aesthetic of 2024. And according to this Business Insider article, the hashtag Grandpa Core has been viewed over 16.5 million times. This is where we are drawing our fashion inspiration from this year. 2 years ago, we had Coastal Grandmother, and now we are romanticizing a new senior citizen. We're talking sweater vests, we're talking tweed, page boy caps, colorful eccentric sweaters, loafers, maybe a pipe. So you want a bookish grandpa, eccentric grandpa. You want a grandpa that looks like he's lived a very interesting life. And if you visit his apartment somewhere in Manhattan, perhaps, he would have a library full of tattered books filled with paintings, filled with the scent of leather and tobacco, maybe motor oil. He might even have an old Folgers coffee can with a collection of nails and screws. He would have a big oak desk. He would have a leather sofa that he would have to, polish with leather polish once in a while. He would have a pipe and maybe some muskets, maybe some dueling pistols. He would have one of those green library lamps, a leather writing mat, an ink pot with like a calligraphy pen that he would write his checks with. So he's well read and he's well dressed. He may have a mustache, like a waxed mustache, a baseball cap in hunter green or navy, fun knitwear, not boring knitwear, colorful knitwear, maybe something in mustard yellow, a deep purple. Perhaps he's not afraid of color because he's very comfortable in his masculinity. He would pick up his wife's jacket. He would pick up his wife's sweater and wear it and rock it. A retro sneaker, like instead of the boring gray New Balances, he would have the bright electric blue New Balance or the green and yellow New Balance. So retro, custom, thrifted, vintage. This type of grandpa, more or less, because of the area I'm from, he doesn't exist. I know he exists somewhere. I think he exists in New York City. The type of fashionable older gentleman that you would see walking around during Paris Fashion Week or in those street photography candid snapshots. So this grandpa has to be an interesting looking grandpa, okay? Like a streetwear grandpa. But where I live, this kind of grandpa doesn't seem to exist. So circling back to my estate sale ventures in my slice of Stepford suburbia, 3 out of every 5 houses I go to has a full body recliner / massager and foot massager attachment with a dried foot skin as evidence of the former owner's dry feet. When I visit the closets of these suburban grandpas, may they rest in peace, I see a lot of navy shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, neutrals, obviously, beige, lots of beige, and khaki trousers, Dockers, Wranglers, and Levi's with the saggy bottoms. You need a belt to keep your pants up because, once you get old as a man, you never really had a butt to begin with, but you lose it all. A lot of dad shoes, but not dad shoes in like the fashionable sense. A lot of gray dad shoes, sometimes with Velcro straps. There's definitely some New Balances, but it's gray. It might be retro, but it's not colorful. So it seems that men of a certain age, of a certain generation, they like to keep to neutrals: black, khaki, gray, neutrals. They are not the eclectic grandpa. In terms of decor, they may have some of the items that I just described. They might have some dueling pistols, a big antique desk, lots of books, Stephen King, Cormac McCarthy, the guy that writes all the history books, David McCullough, 1776. They like colonial history, a lot of political books, military battle plans, Windows 95 for dummies, the internet for dummies, and chicken soup for the soul, although I believe that belonged to their wife. Strangely enough, I do notice several framed photos of Ronald Reagan astride a horse placed next to someone's bedside, which is kind of telling of the demographic of my slice of suburbia, or how that demographic used to be. Waspy. So this aesthetic has been predicted by Pinterest and TikTok as being the #1 trend of this year, the big aesthetic of this year. It's supposedly supposed to be wildly popular amongst the youth, but I feel like this aesthetic really toes the line between being fashionable versus bizarrely eccentric, but not in a good way. So it's a fine line between, did you do it on purpose or you did it by accident? Did you look in the mirror when you stepped out of your house this morning? And which side of the line you fall on really depends upon the context, where you're living, where you are while you're dressed like this. Are you living in New York City? Are you living in Paris, where things are a little bit more fashion forward? Are you living in, Ohio? If Hailey Bieber, walking down the streets of Manhattan, were to dress in this eclectic grandpa style, a floral, busy man tan shirt, paired with an argyle sweater vest, paired with tweed trousers, a newsboy cap, or maybe a baseball cap, paired with very colorful retro sneakers, she would probably pull it off. In the same vein, depending upon how you carry yourself, your attitude, if you were an 80-year-old woman and you were dressed as an eclectic grandpa, you are set within the context of a fashion-forward city. You can layer on all the accessories you want and all the clashing patterns you want, and people will still think it's fashion. You did it on purpose. So what I'm getting at here is that this aesthetic favors the young and it favors the very old, but anybody in between, like between that 35 to 60 age range, it could sour. People will not necessarily think you put this outfit together on purpose. They would think that you put this outfit together because you are struggling, like it's a struggle outfit. Let me just tell you this. I am an Asian woman, okay? A middle-aged Asian woman born at the latter half of the 1900s. I have to be careful about this aesthetic. I could easily fall on the side of, did you look in the mirror before you left the house in the morning? So if I were to wear a quilted purple vest paired with a red floral blouse, paired with some capris, and I decided to add some argyle socks to the mix and wear a page boy cap, what do you think I'm going to look like? Fob. You're going to think I'm pretty fobby. Not that there's anything wrong with being fobby, but it's just not the look I'm going for. I don't want to be a cozy, sweet Asian lady when I'm older. I want to be a dystopian Asian lady. I want to look like I stepped off the set of Blade Runner or I stepped off the set of Gattaca. That's the look I'm going for. Dystopian Asian woman. I'm not there yet, but I will be. Several years ago, there was a trend of wearing socks with pumps, socks with high heels. I tried it for just a moment, and the look was not as fashionable as I intended. Maybe it's the context. I need to get out of suburbia, and if I were to wear that in New York City, maybe people would appreciate it. But in the context of my setting, in the context of my race, and also maybe the context of my age, I look like I'm going to walk down the sidewalk with my hands clasped behind my back. And if you call out to me, I would answer with, huh? So Eclectic Grandpa is one example of maximalist dressing. We are in what I believe to be the peak of our maximalist era. For many years, 10 years or so, we have been in a state of what I like to call cleaning of the house, a deep clean, a purge, if you will, streamlining one's fashion, streamlining one's interior decor. Our jeans have lost all its extraneous parts and they became so skinny jeans. Our homes have been decluttered. You got rid of your parents' or your grandparents' Thomas Kincaid landscape and you replaced it with a giant moose head, a giant prismatic geometric moose head. You got rid of the chandelier or the boob light and you put a geometric pendant light. Millennials, very into the geometry, very into mid-century modern interior decor, couches with peg legs. And in your kitchen, what was once kitschy, you had all these refrigerator magnets, wipe it off the fridge. You had a ceramic rooster cookie jar, declutter it, send it to the thrift shop. Lobster claw oven mitts, send it to the thrift shop. Paint your kitchen cabinets white. But then slowly but surely, all the items that you decluttered, all the fashion items that you gave away, all the kitchen items that you deemed too kitschy for your sophisticated, clean, white and bright kitchen, the next generation, the younger generation, has been collecting it, slowly building a maximalist counter-revolution. The Eclectic Grandpa is very much a reaction to the coastal grandmother, wouldn't you say? And that leads us to the next hot new aesthetic that falls under the maximalist era umbrella, the mob wife. So, in order to fully understand the psychology behind the new mob wife aesthetic, let's flip the coin to the opposite of the mob wife, and that is the clean girl aesthetic. The clean girl, I believe, will eventually evolve into the coastal grandmother. You've seen the aesthetic videos of someone who has it all together, who wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, not cranky. They don't like fall out of bed, they leap out of bed to do about 3 3 hours of Pilates or yoga. They finish off their morning with a healthy green juice or an acai slash Greek yogurt bowl, a matcha latte, complete with latte art, by the way. She goes to the farmer's market and she checks the firmness of the tomatoes. She's been doing that all her life. That's why when she reaches the coastal grandmother's age, she is an expert at feeling the ripeness of an heirloom tomato. The type of character that has her life together, who is perfect, who wears minimal makeup but still looks beautiful with her dewy glass onion skin. She has minimal drama in her life. She always does the right thing. Her life is a straight arrow path. She wears a lot of athleisure, expensive athleisure, maybe her own brand of athleisure. She wears a lot of pristine white sundresses. She has a bow in her hair. Her hair is always perfectly blown out, perfectly curled or straightened. This is the clean girl. She has never made a mistake. So when you see this clean girl, you are at once very jealous, like aspirationally jealous. You want to be her, but at the same time, she makes you feel bad about yourself. She makes you feel like you're lacking. Like, what's wrong with you that you can't get up at 5 a.m. in the morning? What's wrong with you that you want to eat like a muffin? What's wrong with you that you eat microwavable chicken nuggets and not avocado toast with a perfectly poached egg? So whereas the clean girl is the personification of perfection, discipline, productivity, the mob wife is the antidote to that. Rather than being a fashion aesthetic, I see it as the embodiment of an unbothered attitude, an embracing of messiness. She may have messy tousled hair, doesn't care. She might wear a cheetah printed fur coat by the pool, little overdressed for the pool. But what are you going to do? Ask her to leave? She may wake up at noon and order a Bloody Mary for her breakfast or her lunch. Are you going to say something to my face? You're going to ask me to go change? I don't think so, because I'm married to the mob. The perfect embodiment of this attitude is season 1 of The Sopranos. I think it's season 1. It's been over a decade since I've seen it. Carmela with her French manicure going like this, you know? Come to me. I have summoned you. You summon people. That's the attitude of the mob wife. So unbothered is a key feature for this. Like, you could literally just roll out of bed, wear whatever you want, be very loud with your luxury, not be afraid to flaunt your wealth. She's going to wear a bustier, a corset top in cheetah. She's going to put on some very tight faux leather leggings with 5-inch heels. Her idea of athleisure is a velour tracksuit, a retro knitwear with a zip up front and pointed collar. She's going to be dripping in gold and maybe diamonds, but mostly gold. Lots of statement necklaces, chunky gold jewelry, earrings, rings, bracelets, anklets. And this is not just for a night out. This is for day wear with your velour tracksuit that you lounge around the pool in. You would definitely have a manicure and a pedicure. You would have French tips, but not the spiky French tips that are popular now, but the squared off French tips. You would definitely have volume in your hair, like the Carmela Soprano updo or the Snooki from Jersey Shore Bouffant. You would have giant diva-like sunglasses because you have been out all night. Your eyes are a little bloodshot. You need to kind of simmer down with a Bloody Mary by the pool. So Gen Z has newly discovered the soprano, which I think this is where the mob wife aesthetic has risen in popularity. So the unbothered attitude is what we get out of this, and also the embracing of messiness, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Because if you go back to the clean girl, she seems like a character that would become very bothered if things don't go perfectly. Wouldn't you agree? She seems like she's on the edge of being really bothered, because how can you sustain this level of productivity and perfection without majorly burning out? And let's say life throws her a wrench. It's going to derail her in a major way. Let's say she finds out her husband got whacked, or she finds out that her husband has a long-term mistress, or a guma. She finds out that her husband has a guma and he's smothering her in diamonds and furs. What is she going to do? She's not equipped to deal with the type of messiness that the mob wife is equipped to deal with. She lives her life on this tightrope. If she were married to a guy who happens to be in waste management. First of all, I don't think he would tell her he's in waste management because I don't think she can handle the truth. When she finds out and he is suddenly arrested by the FBI, or their home is raided, or he's whacked, I think this will just send her over the edge. She would spiral into a month-long bout of depression, like never get out of bed. She can't handle a life of messiness. And that is where I think the mob wife finds her strength. She is fully aware of the messiness of her situation, the precariousness of her situation, and she is fully equipped from the beginning to handle this type of messiness. Like, she is a cat on a hot tin roof. She tries to stay on the roof as long as she can. But the clean girl, you can't walk this tightrope forever. Something's going to throw you off, and then you'll just land into a mountain of Valium. There's a reason why most New Year's resolution, new year, new me, you stick with it for the first 2 weeks in January, but then afterwards, you know what happens. You just want a burger. So the mob wife aesthetic is not even so much about the fashion. It's about the mentality of embracing messiness and dealing with reality and knowing how to survive in chaotic situations. Is the mob wife aesthetic offensive? I mean, offensive to Italian Americans, in that people online are literally cosplaying the stereotypes of their culture. I think there's a point here. Empathetically, if people were to dress up like older Asian ladies in a quilted purple vest and some capris and some visors and call it fobcore, I think I would have some thoughts. My number one thought being, what the hell? But short of that, I see many positives to the mentality of the mob wife. That's not to say just because she wakes up at noon and has a Bloody Mary, it doesn't mean that she doesn't work. Okay, all women work, whether you can see their work or not. It's not easy to be married to a higher up in waste management. He could be whacked at any moment. You could be whacked at any moment. Your property could be seized by the FBI. You both probably need couples therapy. And let's not ignore the fact that in most of these mob movies, he's got a mistress. Like, it's not easy being cheated on. And is a divorce possible? Will you be whacked upon this divorce? So, the mob wife has a lot on her plate. She may not cook and she may not clean, but damn it, did she earn that ring? In conclusion, we have the eclectic grandpa and we have the mob wife. Two examples of a maximalist aesthetic, a maximalist dressing style. We are, I believe, in the zenith of the maximalist period. We've been slowly climbing this mountain, and now I think we are at the top of this mountain. My prediction is that in a year or two, sooner than that, maybe even in a few months, maximalism will be over. We have to descend the mountain at some point. What goes up will come down. The pendulum swings. So we might enter into another version of minimalism. With every swing of the pendulum, the same looks come back, but they're coined a different title. So what will come next? I like to throw my hat in the ring and coin something called like dystopian grandma, which is my aspirations for when I'm a senior citizen. So what do you guys think about the eclectic grandpa and the mob wife aesthetic? And what do you think about this whole maximalism era in general? Share your opinions down below. So that's all I have for you today. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, you know what to do. And I'll see you next time.